So one of the hardest things you'll ever have to do is to let your pet go. Coming to that realization, and especially if they don't go on their own and you have to help, make that decision for them. And now incorporate kids into the mix. And Cassie was conflicted as to how to handle explaining to her kids what's happening to your all's family dog.
Yeah, I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and it's going to be so weird. We've had our dog for 15 years, almost the entire relationship between me and my husband. We live in the house we live in now because of our dogs. We chose it because of a yard, so it's really bizarre going from having 2 dogs to, in the space of 3 years, having no dogs. We're trading them out for kids instead. But we lost one of our dogs when my daughter was very, very young, and I was pregnant with my second. So we didn't ever say anything because she was so young. We're like, she won't remember. She's under the age of 2. But now that they've been around our other dog more, and my son especially really loves her, and they'll say, "Hi, Calliope," and they'll talk to her and stuff. And I mean, you know how kids are with dogs. Calliope is really old and sick. She has a tumor. She has Cushing's disease. She has all this stuff. And in conversations with the vet, it's looking like the most humane thing to do would be to put her down and sort of take her out of her pain, because she's constantly in pain. That's a whole different conversation. I'm trying to figure out when the right timing of that is. But I asked you guys, how do you tell young kids that this is happening, especially because my kids don't really know about death yet? I mean, there was a recommendation from you guys saying, have them watch the Bluey episode about the bird. Mm-hmm. And there's a specific one. If you've seen Bluey, you know what I'm talking about. And they've seen that, but it doesn't really register. And I honestly did not want to talk to them about death or dying yet this young. But my friend Brianna made a really good point. She had to go through this with her family dog, Indy. And she said, she was grateful for the gift that the dog gave them and Indy gave them in easing her kids into the idea of dying before it happened to a family member down the line. Mm-hmm. And that really adjusted how I looked at it. Because I'm from going from this oh God, traumatic experience to, oh, actually, this is a gift Calliope is giving us. So, not like I'm expecting it anytime soon, but as they get older, they're acquainted with the idea of it and they understand that lives are finite. So here's what you guys said. I'm going to sum it up real quick and I'll read some of your comments. Thank you to everyone who left a comment on our Facebook page.
People were nice on Facebook.
Oh, they were so nice.
They were so nice. They had the lovely suggestions. They also even warned about certain things, but they did it in such a lovingly way. Y'all were fantastic. Thank you.
No way.
Yeah, it's so nice. There were 2 main themes that kept recurring, and thank you for everyone saying this, because I originally had said, we're going to put Calliope to sleep. She's going to go to sleep for a long time, and everyone's like, don't tell them they're going to sleep. Shell Heck said she's a Children's Grief Center volunteer and licensed medical social worker and therapist. She said, don't tell them your dog went to sleep. Kids will often then have fears of going to sleep because they think they might not wake up, or they don't want you or loved ones to go to sleep because of that fear, especially at a young age when they don't know what death is, but they do know what sleep is.
Makes total sense. Mm-hmm. Never would have thought of it, but makes total sense.
Nope. So she said, use the correct words, keep it simple. Jennifer had the idea is, I told my 14-year-old that our dog was very old. We knew she had cancer and to love her like crazy because she would be getting her wings soon. She didn't tell her about the actual appointment, but waited to tell her after that she had passed away. So that gave me the idea to go ahead and start prepping them now instead of being like, hey, tomorrow Calliope's not going to be around anymore.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I can sort of plant the seeds now so they're prepared for it. Jenny Bedall says children should be told everything in a language of age-appropriate language and prepared accordingly for all things in life, which is something I believe in as well. It just feels so different when it's something heavy and they're so innocent.
It's your mama heart wanting to protect them because you don't want your kids to feel pain, and losing a pet is painful.
Well, and I think also it's the cognitive leap of, if my pet dies, do I one day die? And I don't want to have that conversation. I don't want to think about it, but I don't want to talk to them about it. Shelby Weiss suggested reading The Invisible Leash, and it's a book that helps them understand losing a pet. And the other big thing was definitely let them say goodbye. Dolores Becker says, my parents put my dog down when I was a kid without telling us, and I was mad and upset that I didn't get an opportunity to say goodbye. And somebody else mentioned they've still never forgiven their dad for not telling them about their German Shepherd being put down, and they're still angry about it years later.
Because that's one thing you were really struggling with, whether or not to let them, to have them say goodbye.
I wanted it to be like the least traumatic thing. I was like, maybe if they just find out after, like, oh, it just happened. She went to go live on a farm. But it's not chickening out. It's just, it is protecting them. And I know as a parent, you can't always keep them in a protected bubble. Now, on the flip side, my kids are so young. I just wanted to read a couple of comments that don't support all of those. Tracy Laying says, as a vet professional, if your children are very young, tell them after. While it's a peaceful procedure, we all do our best to make it as comfortable as possible for everyone. It's difficult for kids to see, and things do happen. And sometimes they're not ideal for young children to witness. Older children can understand a bit of what's happening and why, but young kids seem to be confused and upset. And then Cheryl Osler says 4 and 2 is too young. They can't comprehend death. My grandson is still expecting his uncle to come see him, and he was 3.5 years old, and now he's 6, and he still asks when uncle is coming to see him. So I think it's based on the age. So I think what we're going to do, thanks to y'all's comments, is I'm going to sort of plant the seed with them, tell them to love on her, and then I don't know. I got to talk with my husband about whether or not we're going to just, say your goodbyes over the next couple of weeks and tell them when it's happening, or just be like, hey, it happened today.
Gotcha. Again, I'm so sorry.
Thank
But
you.
again, she's 15.
She's 15. She had a long, great life. It is what it is. That's what you get into. You don't really think about it when you adopt a pet at the end. And that's just, our lives have changed so much. We have 2 young kids. She's old and tired. She doesn't need the kids in her face all the time either. But it sucks.
Well,
it really does.
Very fortunate to have you guys as her family.
Oh, thank you.
The Bert Show.